Hello and welcome to AEF TV in association with Engerati. I'm joined now by Adam Ashcroft, who's the Regional Director at MANLIFT. You will have noticed the MANLIFT logo behind there, so that's a small plug for you guys. Well done in seizing the opportunity to sponsor this. There's lots of coverage that's come out of there. But more specifically, we were kind of talking off air about what MANLIFT do, and you provide these sort of containerized solutions, which are emergency generation or generation for industry when the capacity isn't there. And the question to you is, what do you think sort of needs to be done in Africa to, because it's come out a number of times in the interviews, to move away from and what I would call an over-reliance. It's not going to go away. You need this sort of solution, but an over-reliance of the sort of emergency solutions to generate power.
I think the most important thing to understand is that Africa is growing at 5%, even just looking at the population growth, economic sort of situation there. So the challenges with the energy industry is it's important to actually look at the first world. The States, the UK have got challenges with energy. You listen to Aggreko CEO Rupert Soames. Here we're talking about the challenges where the power stations are getting older, and there will be potentially a need for emergency power there. So in Africa, this is no different. The economies are growing, Europe is stable, and the power balance is definitely increasing, or the need for emergency power is increasing. So that immediately gives rise to all areas of power, the potential growing, not only in coal fire, gas power, and we've heard this time and time again at the conference. So I see all areas growing. How do they specifically approach those challenges? I think there's got to be a will and a necessity at government levels, and also private levels as well. So private companies need to invest financially into Africa. That can be challenging at times, but the rewards can also be significant as well.
And I suppose also with that private investment, because we aren't just talking about investment into power. There's investment into other industrialization that's going on. I remember we were talking at your booth about sort of cement factories coming up, and all of those are huge consumers of power. And if you're going to get that kind of investment, I suppose they look at it and say, look, we need this power. If we ain't getting it off the grid, we're going to do our own thing.
Yes.
And is, I mean, that is clearly not probably the best way of doing it, but I'd like to give you a bit of an opportunity to talk about what some of the challenges these industries are facing, which is why they're coming to you, just to give air to those.
No, we supply remote locations. It can actually be the best way to do this. It can be economical to be self-sustaining in an environment. Our core business is diesel generators. Basically, wherever a lorry can go in the world, our generators can go too. That's not quite the case with other fuels, and also the remoteness, the economics can actually mean that it's far more economical to have your own power station on site. So if you've got a mine in the middle of Africa, in the heart of Africa, the gas, let's say, and gas supplies elsewhere, it's not as easy just to put a power line from one place to another. And
I would imagine it doesn't make economic sense to write whopping great big pylons or pipes or whatever, because if you talk about a mine, you don't know what the lifespan's going to be. So you put all this in, and 20 years later, actually don't need it anymore, and you've wasted a lot of infrastructure.
It's exactly that, and it's never a clear picture. So if you're a mine or you're whatever the use of the power, they spend a lot of time, resources to try and figure out what power requirements they are. Now, the cheapest power does traditionally come from the grid. That's no hidden fact. But actually, when you're so remote or in a different location, or the grid is actually not so reliant, different items and different sources of power come into play. And those can be from the more environmentally friendly side, which is solar and wind. And some mines are actually looking at these areas, and sometimes they're not the full answer. There's economical reasons behind that.
And I would imagine they then need a mix as well, because solar, wind, and that's fine, but you still need, wind ain't blowing and it's nighttime and you're still working. You need something else.
So there is no one answer to this. We, as a diesel generator or an emergency supplier, or what I would call a temporary supplier, actually can often become a permanent supply as well, because of those the reasons we discussed.
And where have you seen that happen, where you kind of actually went in and said, okay, well, this is going to be a temporary thing, and then I don't know, 2 years down the road you're still there, and more things. Is where are those examples mainly located?
Each instance can be unique for various reasons. A customer might actually find that it's not their core business. Power generation. It might be even a hotel. We power hotels,
Right.
5-star resorts, and they find that actually their core business is servicing their customers, looking after them, and they outsource the power to MANLIFT. And for economical reasons, for keeping to their core business, it's a pure outsource model. So, and it is the same with other businesses. So, if within your business mix and our customers feel that maybe economically we're a small fraction of the business, then it could be economical for them. And it can be scaled to a government level as well. That if you look at the financial savings of temporary power, we can be a minute cost, but the actual advantages of governments, cities, countries doing business, that is where actually the massive cost savings or the economies can sort of snowball and then get onto that sort of that growth path, which is so important.
That's interesting as well, and I suppose the other thing that comes into play is this whole idea of, which another gentleman was saying is, look, you've got to start somewhere, and if that somewhere is there, then why not start there? As long as you've got a vision to where you want to end up, and that's kind of sustainable. So I'm not going to set you a completely different challenge.
Sure.
Because unlike me, you've had a chance to walk around and enjoy some of the sessions and sort of take it all in. So if I can for a second turn you into my roving reporter, you didn't know you had that role.
Sure,
but if I can ask you the question, well, what have been the couple of sort of conversations that you've picked up on, and you go, oh, that's really interesting. Oh, it's great that conversation is happening.
Yeah, I think there's people are excited by Africa. The continent is open. It's such a generic name to say Africa. But there's opportunities all across the continent.
Yeah.
There's businesses here who are operated in almost every country there. It's well documented that some of them are more challenging than others. But my company works in Iraq, we work in Pakistan, we work in challenging places already.
Yeah.
And having traveled in Africa, the people are very welcoming.
Yeah.
Generally, they're very keen to do business. They want to do business. It's in their blood. And it's an exciting continent, and it's a good place to travel and a good place to be there.
Yeah, I know. And you're the first person who said it, and it's quite a valid point, isn't it? We can't just Africa. It's all the same. It's not, is it? And therein lies the challenge. You've got all those different microcosms and different ways of doing it, cultural as well, and things like that.
And languages as well. And that's part of the flavour of doing business there. And not everyone enjoys. People. A lot of the people here are from Europe. Some are from. Well, they travel from just chatted to the States through to Singapore today. So people are coming here focusing on Africa, and and it's an exciting place, and there's plenty of opportunities, and we are welcomed. So that's good.
Well, that's the main thing. And I'm afraid we've come to the end of the time we've got here. Thanks very much for joining us, and you did a sterling job as my roving reporter.
Okay,
thanks. And thank you for watching. And it's more on AEF TV and Gerati interviews like this. Thanks for watching.